Over 95% of Americans live in a state that has directed them to stay at home, except for absolute necessities. Some necessities are universal: groceries, drugstores, taking care of loved ones. But there's one thing millions of Americans consider a necessity that has become the subject of a heated debate. Houses of worship everywhere have closed their doors, still trying to support their communities. Many have turned to curbside or remote services. That means observing Easter, Ramadan, and Passover in ways they never have before. But a few continue holding services in person.
If a virus takes me out, bring it on, Jesus. If the rapture takes me out, bring it on, Jesus. But I'm telling you what, no virus can touch me until God is through with me, until he says I'm done with you. Nothing by any means can hurt me.
This is Solid Rock Church, outside Cincinnati, Ohio. The governor here banned gatherings of any size in the state, with this exception. In Ohio, there is no limit on the number of people who can meet for religious worship.
It's legally permissible for the governor of Ohio to make that distinction. I think it's a terrible policy distinction and can lead to some pretty risky and perhaps horrifying health outcomes.
This is John Inazu, a professor of law and religion at Washington University in St. Louis.
The First Amendment protects the free exercise of religion, but like any right in our Constitution, that right is not unlimited. So the state can always come up with reasons to limit any kind of right if its interest is high enough. I won't be able to meet for Easter services, and that is that's deeply sad. But it's also where we are right now.
Some COVID-19 deaths have been directly traced to the spread of the disease during religious gatherings. That means that state and local governments are walking a cultural and legal divide, weighing public health against freedom of religious practice. As of April 10th, at least 13 states still allow religious gatherings of any size. A couple of these states have given minimal guidance on containing COVID-19, but other states have made exceptions, banning or limiting large gatherings except for religious worship. Still, most states have placed limits on gatherings, including religious ones, but these states face the tricky issue of enforcement.
And the people who get to decide which laws are enforced are the ones who are policing the street.
The National Football League stadiums are closed. The bar rooms and nightclubs are closed. But the church is still open for business.
In some states, religious groups have decided to gather in defiance of the law. After weeks of holding services, a Louisiana pastor was finally arrested. And after several police calls to large funerals in New York, the NYPD said it would start issuing $1,000 fines to violators. Others have seen their governors begging these groups to stop what they're doing.
The Bullitt County pastor that is continuing to have service. So we know it's a scientific fact that him holding his service today spread the virus within his congregation. And at Christmas, he's going to have fewer people in his congregation.
While Inazu says that states can certainly ban religious gatherings, defining what is essential raises questions.
A key question here then becomes, well, what's an essential business?
Our stupid governor says you can't get together with your family for Easter. What are they going to do, stand at my front door and see how many people goes in?
And sometimes it's not only religious leaders who don't agree with their government, it's the government itself that doesn't agree.
A disagreement in Kansas over Governor Laura Kelly's executive order to limit religious gatherings.
In Kansas, the governor banned religious gatherings, but the state legislature overruled her. But many religious groups aren't getting caught up in the debate. They're just finding new ways to do the critical work that needs to be done right now in their communities.
Those efforts are themselves greatly complicated right now, but I think most religious leaders I'm talking to are more than ever trying to figure out how to get food to the hungry and shelter to the homeless and those sorts of things, which are core to what a lot of religious people care about in practice.
We're going to keep tracking how communities respond to this crisis and how life across America continues to change. Keep an eye out for future coverage. Carrie Cochran, Newsy, outside Cincinnati, Ohio.